See how this guy completed the beautiful journey of becoming a father and a grandfather within a couple of months. In a hopeless place like this planet of ours, some stories remind us that the world is still a wonderful place to live in. It keeps us looking forward to a better day and a great life, in short, raises our hopes. The internet is today's big thing as it plays an informative role. Thanks to the virtual world, incidents that remained unheard of before go viral instantly nowadays. For unbelievable stories like this one that is shared across the globe, and these wonderful people get the deserving appreciation for their work. Go ahead and listen further to know this amazing story that restores faith in honest and generous relationships. A 23-year-old guy named Tommy Connolly is just like any other guy in his age group. Tommy is pursuing his studies at the University of the Sunshine Coast in Queensland, Australia. Alongside that, he's working as a part-time real estate agent who spends the remaining time with his family and friends. Keeping everything aside, he's always working hard for his hobbies turned to passion. Everything seems to be like every normal guy's life, isn't it? But soon enough, Tommy was about to take a huge step in his life that will make him stand far away from the line of ordinary people. Other than his hectic schedule, Tommy has been adjusting his hobby in between everything correctly. He manages all the fields perfectly, whether it be his work, studies, or relationships. This guy who's living an ordinary life is actually much more than that. He runs faster than most of us as his speed, hard work, and determination made him a professional runner. He already won awards at the regional level, and his coaches are now looking forward to his participation in international championships. Tommy prefers sports and activities that require more physical strength compared to indoor games. He's full of joy and spends his off days hiking, whitewater rafting, and rock climbing. He believes in working harder and saving it for the right time. Tommy and anyone who knew him never imagined that very soon he had to focus on a big-time responsibility. Nobody understood this at first, not even Tommy, but everything was about to turn upside down very quickly. So here's how it started. Along with his supportive family, for Tommy, that one person is his girlfriend Olivia Taro. She's extremely encouraging of his athletic and business pursuits. Their 8-year-long relationship took a step ahead when Tommy and Olivia started dating each other. Olivia had been cheering Tommy on throughout his adventurous journey, and she's been equally enthusiastic as Tommy about his traveling across the globe. Her actual test was just waiting for her to check how much more supportive she could possibly be. Tommy is much more responsible when compared to the rest of the youngsters. The subject of business and economics always interested him, and after noticing the fact that he's good with managing money, as a result of which he's saved quite a good amount of money. That's why he wished to start his own business soon in the coming years. And he was working hard all this time because of that, but he was completely unaware that one message was about to change, or we should say fix, his priorities forever. Family and girlfriend's existence in his life made life happier, but some decisions are to be taken after listening to the voice of one's conscience. Tommy is always excited about his academic as well as professional career. He's quite ambitious to achieve his goals, but the reason that arises here is that he will be putting everything on hold just to do the right thing. Who'll decide what this right thing is? And is it going to cost Tommy his career? Whatever his actions may be, it was surely going to be admired by the world. Thanks to Facebook, many people get in touch with their relatives, old friends, or people whom they lose contact with for obvious reasons. So it all started with a message that came as a surprise to Tommy. For a moment, he couldn't believe that he was talking to a beloved person whom he thought he would never be able to get along with again. That time, Tommy's expressions were just like most of us when we got in touch with a person we missed but couldn't find no matter what. It was his loving younger cousin, Kiarna Chapman, texting him, and he hadn't seen her in a decade. She moved to Southport with her family, and since then they were both out of contact. Tommy was overwhelmed by his sister's initiative to talk. However, it didn't take long for him to understand that the situation wasn't good at all. She was in a miserable condition, and Tommy couldn't leave her all by herself in the toughest phase of her life for a valid reason. Tommy and Kiarna shared a strong bond as cousins during their childhood. Yes, things changed with time, but the duo still felt connected in their hearts. I was really excited to hear from her because I've always had a soft spot for her. She was my favorite little cousin. She was the sweetest girl and we got along so well, tells Tommy. Her one message was about to change her elder brother's life upside down. Kiarna was 16 years old when she reached out to Tommy via Facebook. When Tommy, out of curiosity, asked her about life, schooling, whereabouts, and more, he got a strong feeling that Kiarna's life wasn't on the right track. While Tommy has lived a wonderful teen life, his sister's younger days were not going as well. Trust us when we say that it wasn't just a regular teenage argument with their parents or peer pressure struggles or boyfriend issues. Kiarna's life took a horrible turn when she had to leave her home due to her family issues. It was a critical situation as everything was out of her hands now. Tommy later said more about her terrible time span. She was homeless, no shoes, no phone, with less than a backpack full of clothes. She didn't have anywhere else to go and she spent the nights in front of the Gold Coast section. She was stressed, and at that young age, this opened dark doors for the young Kiarna. Being homeless is a hopeless situation for young kids like Kiarna. For survival, she got involved in criminal activities and faced quite a lot of hustling situations with the police and the law. At first, she got into drugs but quickly quit as soon as the ground reality hit her brain. She was struggling every moment of her life to get rid of these troubles, which soon seemed to be never ending. As if this wasn't enough, there was more tragedy to come. Before ending up on the roads, Kiarna had spent months in the foster care system. She was just an illiterate teenage girl who got into bad company and almost ruined her life. But was that all? No. What was later revealed stunned everyone. Homeless teens like her rarely make it back to a normal life. Their lives most often end up in the same state of addiction, chasing around by police. Life dealt Kiara a poor hand, and she had to pay for it the best she could. She spent more time on the streets than anywhere else and knows the police better than she knows her own family, Tommy mentioned in his Facebook post. Until now, Kiarna was holding on to her emotions, but her strength was on the verge of breaking. Kiarna's boyfriend was serving his jail term, and she was all alone in this unwanted lifestyle. On top of it, everything around her was a complete mess at that time. She was learning on the streets, but that's not it. She was yet to deal with her biggest shock. This shock was soon to be the most pleasant thing that ever happened to her. After finding out about Kiarna's pathetic life, an ambitious guy like Tony was now completely distracted from his own goals. He couldn't help but worry about her present as well as future. The teen girl never asked to meet or any help for him. All she wanted was to have a conversation in this lonely phase of life. That's when she contacted Tommy to have a conversation. Little did she know, this simple step was going to turn her life the other way around. Tommy was deeply buried in regret about not checking on his beloved cousin over the last few years. He was so busy with his life that he never got a chance to look how she was doing, and now everything was getting out of hand. They shared a lovely childhood, and now years later, things were changed drastically for Kiarna. Tommy wanted to see her right away as it was his day off, and he decided to meet her and take the conversation from there. Instead of laying back with ease at home, Tommy chose to go to the Gold Coast and meet Kiarna as he couldn't wait anymore. Tommy said, "I went and picked her up and she basically started telling me about her situation, which was hard for me to hear because she was my favorite little cousin when I was growing up." Tommy's great reunion turned out to be his biggest test of life. "She didn't ask me if she could stay with me, but I had the day off work, so I drove down to the Gold Coast straight away and picked her up. I took her to lunch and she told me her story," explained Tommy. He felt guilty that if he'd known about this before, he surely wouldn't have let her live on the streets. Life was sad for Kiarna, and Tommy came as a ray of hope in that moment. But things weren't just as bad as they looked. "It made me want to do whatever it took to help her. It made any problems I ever had seem irrelevant because the life she's had is so intense. My focus just immediately turned to her." Tommy recalled how guilty he felt at the moment he saw her and how badly he wanted to make it up to her. At that point, he was not bothered at all about anything else. He didn't know the whole story, and now was decision-making time. In any case, Tommy knew leaving Kiarna back on the streets wasn't an option. Not even once did he think about his family and girlfriend's reaction after finding out his decision. Tommy was still working part-time and studying himself, but he still offered to help her. He asked her to stay with him for a while. However, this "for a while" was about to extend way more than anyone thought. Tommy's always been in love with kids, as you'll understand after looking at this picture here. Kiarna was offered to live with her older brother, who was determined to help her out in all the possible ways. She had no clue about her future, nor had she any plans or goals. The girl wasn't mature enough to live alone when she was living alone on the streets. Tommy, on the other hand, was a responsible guy who wanted to achieve big in his life and was focused towards his dreams. He didn't know a secret his little sis was hiding from him, which could bring Tommy into a big time of trouble depending on how he would react. Tommy was certain that he wouldn't let her suffer through this kind of life anymore. He wanted to give her a normal life that every kid deserved. He was planning on getting her back to school where she could learn all that she missed. When all the determination, great plans for Kiarna were made and Tommy was ready to become her official guardian, a shocking discovery was made. Out of fear, she didn't tell Tommy about her actual condition. She knew if the secret got out, Tommy wouldn't help her anymore. The secret that was yet to be told was that she was 23 weeks pregnant. But an almost 5 months pregnancy couldn't stay hidden for too long, and Kiarna's terror was just not letting her speak up. However, what actually happened made his brother-sister duo one of the most amazing ones we'll ever know. Tommy eventually got to know the truth and he was disappointed. The reason for his disappointment wasn't her pregnancy, but the fact she kept it hidden. Tommy has always been a guy who sticks close to his family and friends during their tough times, and so there was no way he'd leave her alone. Although he himself wasn't stable, he was trying to give Kiarna a better life. But now, with the news of a baby coming, things might change. The fate of this baby seemed darker than Kiarna's life on the roads, as there were even bigger issues surrounding them. Kiarna informed Tommy that child services were keeping an eye on her ever since they found out she was a homeless minor that was pregnant. They'd already told her that once born, her baby would be taken away. The thought of not being able to keep her baby after birth was haunting. Yes, at 16 years of age, she was too small to bring up a baby. Her motherly instincts were too strong, and letting her baby grow in someone else's hands was scaring her to death. Now that Tommy knew this, everyone was waiting to know his next move. Since carrying this gorgeous boy, all of my friends kept telling me that he would be taken away from me. This made my pregnancy very difficult. All I wanted was to give this little man a better life than I had. A second chance was all I wanted, said Kiarna. Tommy at the same time decided that he'd stand by Kiarna's dream to raise her baby boy. How would he make that happen? Kiarna was a minor and without any guardian, so the authorities could still take her boy away from her. Tommy was submitting all the legal documents to become his little sister's legal guardian. It was a lot more difficult than he thought, though. They met a shock at the first step of the process, which almost shattered their hopes. When Tommy tried to submit the required documents, the authorities told him he didn't meet the criteria, due to many reasons. Both of them were disheartened and Tommy was a bit afraid. Still, he was certain to resolve the situation to get his sister out of this trouble no matter what it took. Tommy wasn't ready to give up and his further steps made everyone doubt him. During their bad time, Olivia, his girlfriend, stood with Tommy hand in hand like she did before. She's always been supportive of his decisions and this time she also believed in him. Her presence always gave him the strength to face what didn't seem as logical from many other people's points of views. Everyone likes to tell me this is such a big responsibility, but I wasn't thinking about uni or work or anything. All I was doing was thinking that she needed me, recalled Tommy. Tommy was being more than helpful. He wasn't worried for himself, but for Kiarna. He consulted with a legal advisor who'd suggested him a few ways to get his sister out of this mess. Those ways were about to cost Tommy a lot. Per the legal advisor, Tommy was now ready to get over a few legal obstacles, and for that, he used all his savings in renting a bigger apartment. Tommy had to stop his training and quit all the competitions, his sole passion. But for him, investing in saving his little sister, his cousin, and her baby was more important than investing in his own career. Everything had to be done quickly before the baby was born. I've spent the last few months working, moving houses, having meetings with different departments, signing forms, being assessed and monitored, chasing funds, setting up her bank accounts, buying baby stuff, furniture, going to hospital and doctor's appointments, and getting Kiarna settled in, said Tommy. He was doing everything that he could for her. It was like he forgot about his life for her. Were all these efforts going to pay off? Tommy was always taking time for Kiarna to make her feel comfortable in a new environment. Whenever he was free, he used to teach her how to read and write. Not only reading and writing, but he started teaching her how to drive, as this would keep her in the long run. With Tommy's efforts and Kiarna's hard work, she cleared the driving test and got her learner's permit. She even got braces and everything seemed to be right for Kiarna now. She was only scared if this happiness would end. Tommy was too close to becoming an international athlete when he gave up and decided to help his sister. People were criticizing his decision as they said Tommy was being emotional and doing a lot more than he should. He was blamed that he wasn't being practical, but Tommy's priority was taking care of Kiarna and her baby. Tommy's always given preference to his family and that's what he was doing now. This affected his studies too for some time, but he managed to get it back on track. Soon his patience and all the extreme steps worked out. In all this rushing time, Tommy's family and friends were with him. And that's what mattered the most for the young man who was doing all he could to make Kiarna a legal part of his family. The good news of the baby was around the corner, but was Kiarna's custody going to be approved by then? This was their only concern. With fingers crossed, they waited but never stopped. This time, Tommy applied for a full custody of Kiarna. They made all the improvements as their legal advisor suggested, and now all they could both do was to pray and hope for the best. This time, the wish of these young people was granted as they were now legally father and daughter. Happy to say she has a new home as I'll be taking care of her from now on, said Tommy. The life of Kiarna and her baby now seemed better than ever before. Were they able to manage? As Kiarna's due date was reaching close within the last few months, her life changed and she came from the streets to a beautiful home with a brother turned father. Now she was living an ordinary life like teens of her age with good clothes, new braces, and a license too. Tommy always treated her as his best buddy and gifted her a kitten too. She loved kittens from since she was a kid, and this was a big dream come true. Tommy was now a father and he was preparing to become a grandfather. When we tell you how Tommy managed this, you might have to take another look at it before believing. On March 16th, Tommy was waiting outside the delivery room and was completing his assignment at the same time. He even played a part in the birth process by cutting the cord and filming his legal grandson's birth. The next day, he made it to his college with the completed assignment. The birth was just a start to a new beginning. Tommy, the 23-year-old guy, didn't even realize that he was now the youngest grandfather in the world. She's the toughest girl I know. All she wants is for him to have a better life than she's had. There's still a long way to go, but things are back on track and she has the opportunity she deserves. When bad things happen, it's your family that supports you, Tommy explained. Kiarna named her son Caden and now lives happily with Tommy and his girlfriend Olivia. The people who criticized him for his big decision were now praising the young grandfather. One of his friends even started a GoFundMe page for Kiarna and her son. Christmas came early for Kiarna today. She received funding for the first time. She's moved into a house to get us a brand new fridge, washing machine, dryer, TV unit, and some things for the kitchen. We're very lucky. Been a while since we've been able to wash our clothes properly, said Tommy. They say the best gifts in life come badly wrapped. When he was born, it all started to make sense. I lost some friends and family along the way. They never saw the bigger picture. All I wanted was to keep this boy safe and happy. I'd pick him every day of the week, 365 days of the year. And I may not be your real dad, but I'm your family and I'll always be there for you. I haven't seen my real dad for over 13 years. I learned that a father is what a father does. Tommy posted on his Facebook. My cousin does 90% of the work, and if it's 1 or 2 years of my life I have to put on hold to make sure 2 lives are going to be saved, it's nothing at all, said Tommy, who started his new venture named as UN Real Estate and adds, "We are not stereotype real estate agents. We're real people," Tommy said. His company's tagline states, "We don't wear ties, we don't tell lies." But that wasn't the only thing in Tommy's life that changed. Family is what family does. Happy birthday to the happiest boy in Queensland, the best looking boy in the family, the best antidepressant that money couldn't buy, and the future world champion in whatever he chooses to do. I love you, kid, Tommy mentioned on Facebook. Such a wonderful guy who's now living life to the fullest. If you enjoyed Tommy's story, do share it with your friends.